Episode of Lights, Camera, Live. So, listen, should your business work with travel influencers? Are travel influencers worth the investment or just a necessary evil? In today's episode, we're going to talk about the pros, the cons, and the real ROI when it comes to working with influencers. And I'm excited because let me tell you, I go way, way, way back with my good friend Tyler Anderson, who is the founder and CEO of Casual Fridays. He's joining the show today to reveal which travel influencers actually drive results and which ones don't. So that way you could save your time, talent, and energy. Not only that though, but we're gonna dive into the real mistakes that most businesses make when they're choosing influencers and how you can avoid wasting thousands of dollars on influencers who don't convert. So having said that, Tyler, let's bring you onto the show. How are you, friend?
I'm doing great, Stephanie. I'm so excited to be here with you and Lights Camera Live. This is awesome.
It's been a minute. I
It's been
think
a
the
hot
last time I
minute.
saw you was June of last year, yes?
When you say of last year, not even this last June, you're talking about 2022 June. I think, yes, you are
Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's been a while.
wild. But you've come back to San Diego for quite some time for masterminds, retreats, things of that sort.
Yeah, correct. No, I've been back. We still have a pretty significant footprint in that market with our team and our staff. We have employees there as well as clients. So, I want to say in the last 12 months, work has brought me back there at least, 4 or 5 times. So yeah, I
So
get
you're here
back.
every now and then. That's good.
Yeah,
And you
I'm
bring the
here every now
family
and
with
then.
you too?
Sometimes, but then sometimes they go without me. So actually, my wife, Steph, who's involved with the business, she actually went out recently and she brought the kids, and so she was there. My last trip was actually not last May, so we're doing this at September. I was there in May, but Steph's been there once since then, and she's actually going back in 2 weeks for more client work. So,
Oh,
yeah,
that's exciting. That's so,
yep.
that sounds like so much fun. Yeah, we have to catch up because I've known you way back in the day when we had Social Media Club and then there was Social Media Day, the conference, and so many things. And
I,
what are
I
you
met
up
you when
to
you had
now?
you. I met Stephanie when you had short hair and you had, I think it was like dyed like crazy colors and stuff. Didn't you go through a period like that? Yeah, that's how long I've known you.
Why are we gonna go there? Oh, you're so good. Yeah, it was my Rihanna phase where it was like asymmetrical cut, buzzed on one side. It was wild.
Totally it.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. So what's going on now with Casual Fridays?
Well, I mean, gosh, how do I even answer that question? So, obviously the business has evolved so much. We've been around now for 14 years, and it's interesting because this morning I was meeting with someone out here in Dallas, Texas, who I've gotten to know. He's the coach of my son's basketball team. And we were just catching up on life and work and outside of him being a coach. And we are just talking about all that. And he wanted to kind of pick my brain on some various topics. And it's kind of weird because he asked me like to go through my journey, and it's really wild and crazy to think how I got where I am right now. Because
Yeah.
to your point, I've been doing this basically. I've been doing social media marketing to some degree now for almost 20 years. I know some people might be like rolling their eyes, like, you got to be kidding me. How could you be doing this for 20 years? Well, my journey starts back when it was MySpace. And I literally created MySpace profiles for my radio station. And I think it was 2004. So we're
Yeah.
almost 20 years. And that's really where my journey began. So to where we are today and what's going on, we've kind of, I don't want to say pivoted because I know that's like an overused word, but the agency's definitely shifted our focus to basically 100% on hotel marketing. So it's really a hotel marketing agency. We support hotels and resorts from, as you know, in San Diego all the way over to Maui as they recover. Hearts are going out to them, all the way to New York, down to the Caribbean, and even a few over in the UK. So that's our focus.
You've been in this for quite some time. I agree. And shout out to Brandon Fortino who's tuning in and he said, Stephanie with short hair, what? Yeah. You have to go back in a Facebook land for that one. All right. So, for those of you that are tuning in, if you've been thinking about working with influencers but aren't sure it's worth the risk, this interview is going to be an absolute must watch. As Tyler has said, he has worked in the industry for over 20 years with some of the best brands. And I know that most hospitality, tourism, and industry, it's really hard for them to create their own content. And so,
Yep.
in your experience, how do you get how do you convince hotels on how to work with influencers and really make it strategic?
Well, that's a great question, and I think to even answer that, I have to kind of go back a little. Like this is another example of how this has changed so much. So we've, in theory, been doing influencer marketing. It's so funny because for us, we're OGs. We've been in this for a while. Like we've been talking about influencer marketing for a decade or more, right? And I want to say it hasn't really been, until the last couple of years. There's all these interchangeable words. People are calling them creators. You look at how Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, how they've all like really embraced creators. It's really all about now the creators, which it wasn't that case 7, 8, 9 years ago. So we were leveraging influencers even back then before we knew that they were even influencers. They were just, users more or less, right? And so I guess to answer your question, how do we structure deals? Or I mean, I guess wait, can you repeat exactly what you asked so I can make sure I answer it? I just wanted to go down that memory road a little bit though.
No, you're good. When it comes to hotels, the hospitality and tourism, how do you convince them to work with influencers
Right.
and do it in such a way that is strategic?
Yeah. Okay. Now I know where I was going. I got sidetracked. So the reason I brought all that up, people have been inundating hotels, and we see this because when we were doing full service social media management, we also are the first line of defense in that we were doing the community management for hotels. So meaning we're getting the DMs, the Instagram messages, right? And so, I mean, literally for the last more than a decade, I can count bazillions of times where the hotels are constantly getting hit up by self-proclaimed influencers, right? Or, hey, even before they use the term influencer, hey, I'm really active on, back in the day it was Facebook, then it was Instagram, Pinterest, whatever it may be. Now it's TikTok. And here's my following. I'm going to be coming to your hotel, or I'm coming to your city, and I'd really like to stay in your hotel. So you have to understand a lot of hotel brands kind of came in a little jaded with influencers because they've been getting hit up by them for a long time. And
Yeah.
they've been also burned by them. And we'll probably go over the pitfalls of influencer marketing a little bit later. So there's always been a little reluctancy. And I'd say, how we've shifted our approach with it, definitely there's value to it. We totally get that. But, depending on the type of hotel or the destination, if it's a luxury beachfront resort, they're getting hundreds of people knocking at the door every single day and week wanting to go stay at those hotels as self-proclaimed influencers, right? So where now if it's a business park hotel in the middle of nowhere, obviously they may not have those opportunities. So they're going to be a little bit more eager to want to look at it, right? So how we would approach it in the past versus how we approach it today, I'm going to answer both. In the past, we would do more of the vetting, like, all right, let's look at them. Let's actually look at their metrics. Let's look at their content. Let's look at their audience. We've all seen this, Stephanie. There's tools out there over the years where you can go buy followers, bots, auto engagement, anything can be fabricated. And for some, people who are maybe non-savvy or not as active as we are, they don't know that. And they just might look at an Instagram profile and see that it has, 300,000 followers and assume that that's some mega influencer. But just from a simple analysis, we can detect that 98% of that audience was bought and paid for, or just totally generic and fake. So we would do some vetting and stuff and try to find them that way. Fast forward to today, and to answer your question, it's kind of shifted, and going back to that term I used earlier, like where they're interchangeable now, influencer and creator. Now clients are starting to recognize, okay, it's not so much about their reach and them influencing their audience. It's also not only, hey, if they influence their audience, that's fantastic, but they're also going to create excellent or phenomenal content that's on brand while they're at property. One of the things that we preach is, of course, the significance and importance of short form video. There we go. And a lot of the hotels don't have property teams, nor do they have big budgets to bring in professional video crews. Where bringing in a creator for a campaign or multiple campaigns or hosted stays provides them those opportunities. So definitely, I think they're more open and receptive to doing it nowadays, or I know they are. It's been a big part of what we're offering them. That said, it's not still easy. There's still the educational curve that you have to kind of train the hotels that this is not like a professional branded photo or video shoot. It's going to be shot from a different perspective, and it's going to look different, but it's going to have that more of an authentic feel to it.
How do you get them to engage that? Because having worked in hospitality tourism myself, we would go to the resort, we'd have the huge production crew with the cranes and all that other stuff. And now when you have these content creators, it's like, here's my gear. I mean, if at most,
Totally.
right? And
Yep.
if I was a marketing director, I'd be like, wait, where's the lights, camera, and all this glitz and glamour? How do you convince them that even just your smartphone, the quality from it is still convincing to other prospects?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely a difference of something that you're going to shoot with a smartphone, versus what you're going to shoot with a DSLR or like a red camera or a high end production camera, right? So, when we do talk to our clients, we still offer the high end production. We call them lifestyle production shoots, right? And we show them examples of what that content looks like. We show them examples, but they also see what that costs, because with those you're sending in a producer or a director. There's professional models. They see something now that's 5-figure production versus, hey, let's leverage some creators, and here's the kind of content that they're going to shoot with their smartphones. And of course, a good creator now, like if they're shooting with an iPhone 14 Pro, or as we're recording this, isn't the 15 coming out today? I think so. So the 15, which, I mean, think about how those cameras have evolved so much from when you and I started in social, and the built-in stabilization, the 3 types of lenses on there. I mean, there can be a lot of stuff. And then also just showing them examples of like, just sometimes I'll just do the eye test, and I'll just tell them like, let's pull out your phone. Let's open Instagram or TikTok, start going through. How many of those do you notice of those videos? Do they look like high-end productions? And then when they kind of see, oh, wow, like there's not a lot of content that's being shown in the feed that's a high production, then it kind of clicks to them that, okay, we need to relax. We need to let go. And I think that's the biggest thing right now that we spend so much of our time on with our clients right now, is just simple education, is educating these clients on how it works. Because some of them are still working with the mindset of social media that they maybe, heard from their daughter a decade ago. And now that daughter's like married with children, right? So, it's a constant education game. I'm not going to name names, but we have one hotel partner that we've worked with for, I think it's 13 years now. And I was joking about this the other day. I still feel like I'm having the same conversation that I had 13 years ago. It's just the way it works. So it's continuously reminding them of how this works, how it evolves, how it changes.
I really love the fact that you said you do the scroll test, the eye test.
Eye test.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense because you can see what's being shared, what's driving conversations. I find myself going down the TikTok travel rabbit hole a lot, especially on Instagram. And you don't see a lot of the red cams or the mirrorless cameras in that particular sense. It's fascinating. A lot of the influencers that you work with, do they focus on those 2 channels? Is it TikTok and Instagram? Are you playing around with YouTube at all?
Yeah. No. So that's a great question too. So, the hotel industry is particularly like, and I'll just be totally transparent. We do work more with like bigger brands. And so when you work with bigger brands, sometimes they're a little reluctant to test things. So for example, TikTok is something we've been talking about a long time. There's still a mandate amongst some of those large hotel brands that their individual properties should not maintain or keep up a TikTok channel. So, but that being said, it doesn't mean we can't leverage TikTok influencers, and we will do that. And a lot of times a good TikTok influencer, if we're, I'm sure we'll get to this in the conversation about goals, but if one of our goals is purely content and we want more content creation and content that the hotel can use as usable assets, usually somebody who's pretty good with TikToks, that's going to be interchangeable with a good Instagram, video piece as well. We don't do a lot with YouTube just because, again, it goes back to the individual hotels either don't have the budgets or the resources to maintain a proper YouTube channel. But definitely, like if you could wave the magic wand, as I like to say, and there's an endless budget, 100% YouTube would be a strategy we'd tell them to, to deploy. But, still in the travel and hospitality space, if it's an individual hotel. Now, a brand, of course, they're going to be active on, YouTube, but individual hotels right now, unless it's some like uber popular destination resort, some of the most iconic individual hotels that you can think of, they probably, I would assume, have YouTube channels. But I'd say the vast majority, I take that back. The vast majority probably have a YouTube channel out there that some rogue employee set up one time, and they have no idea how to access it, but they're not actively managing it.
That's so funny. Okay, so back to TikTok. I love how you mentioned that when you're working with these bigger brands, the independent hotel chains might not have the permission to build a TikTok channel. Yep. But to leverage the TikTok influencers, I think that's such a smart workaround, because oftentimes, let's say when you're working in-house for an agency or for a brand and they say, let's launch this. And you're like, well, I don't have the bandwidth or the manpower to do something like that, or possibly not even the gear. And so to your point, leveraging those influencers that have influence on TikTok. But going back to your other point, how would you actually even measure that?
So how are you going to measure the ROI? That's a great
Yeah.
question too. So obviously what I'm going to give a couple different answers here. The first one is like if it's going to be the ownership group, right, which usually dictates the property itself, who, and I don't know about the audience if they know the difference between like ownership groups and management teams and all that, but let's just pretend everybody does. The ownership group ultimately is going to, at first and foremost, care about heads and beds. Like, how can we quantify this to room nights? Again, depending on if this is a big brand hotel or if this is a boutique hotel, and their booking engine and the accessibility that you have to the website, that can be tracked to some degree if you're giving the, promo code or something to that particular influence to use to try to drive and push room nights. That, of course, is the ultimate goal. But you have to manage expectations. And I mean, how many times other than maybe on Instagram for a low, small purchase, maybe we've bought something spontaneous, but usually you're not just going to like, oh, wow, Stephanie's staying there. I'm going to go book a $4,000 vacation right now. you know, little, maybe not as much, but I might be like, wow, Stephanie's there. That's really cool. We should look at that as a location for next time we're planning a vacation, now you made the short list. So there's that influence. So, as far as measuring the ROI, of course, it just comes down to the goals that you got to set. Like, what are our goals? And of course, room nights is obviously the pinnacle, but that's maybe not attainable. So then is it going to be, all right, is our goal just to like have more awareness? Are we trying to reach more people? Some of these hotels, it's not, sometimes people assume that they have these huge followings. They don't. A lot of hotels have, Instagram followings of under 10,000 people. So, when they are creating all this content, they maybe aren't reaching a lot of people. So they may want to leverage influencers just to cast a wider net, get more awareness. We all know the power of, word of mouth marketing and influencer marketing in essence is a form of that, right? So it could be measuring, how many people are you reaching, the impressions that you're getting, the bookings, as I mentioned. We've had some that are literally just trying to grow their Instagram following. That's a goal still. They want to get more followers. So, a great example of that, we have one hotel in Anaheim, right across from Disneyland. And a lot of times their goals is to continuously grow their following with their, their audience on Instagram. So usually we'll go niche there and we'll bring in Disney influencers. Like, these are not mega followers. These are not people with millions of followers. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there's this one guy and he has like the most crazy rabid following. It was around 50,000 followers, which is still decent, but we would classify that as more of a micro influencer still. And every time he would stay and do some promotions with that, the hotel would see significant lifts in their Instagram following. So, it just kind of depends on those. If the goal is, to increase your following, engagement, reach, impressions, all those. And then I know sometimes people like to put a number to it. And so one of the things I still like to do, I like to remind clients sometimes it's no different than when you would maybe buy traditional forms of media and you'd buy television, print, radio, things where you can't quantify a room booking. Like, there's no way you're going to quantify if somebody booked a room from a radio ad, other than if you put the, mention this promo code upon booking. I guess that's the only way, right? So, but you can, my background, I did work in radio, and to that, one of the most common metrics we would, ad buyers would always ask us is, what's your cost per thousand, right? So you can calculate a CPM, and just like you can calculate a CPM on your influencer campaign. So, that's another way to quantify your ROI. Are you getting a better or a lower cost CPM than what you're getting, through, if you are doing traditional media, which is going to be higher CPMs, but the more common ones on like social platforms, I actually looked it up here before this call, but like average CPMs on Facebook are between $5 and $10. Average CPMs for Instagram are between $5 and $7, or for Instagram stories are between $4 and $6. And that's just for ads. So if you can do an influencer campaign that maybe you're getting a better cost per thousand below that, why would you not consider that?
Wow. Okay. That gave me goosebumps, because oftentimes when I think about content creators and influencers, when they put together their media kits, they'll say things like, this is how many followers, here are examples of the content that I create. But I have never seen anyone say, yes, here are the results, but they never translated it into CPMs. And so I love that you tied it back to that, because at the end of the day, when we have to do our quarterly, monthly reports, to tie it back to a CPM. And then for you, which is so smart, I'm like, oh yeah, I was like, bring it home. You're like bringing it back to like radio and advertising in that sense. it just, it ties it all together quite nicely. And you're the first person that I've ever heard talk about that, which is why you have your hospitality tourism niche. Don't you have like a course going on? Like, or is it coaching? What is it now?
No, we did launch it's really a content hub for hotels. It's just called Smart Hotel Marketing. That's all it is. And so you actually just gave me an idea. I need to write an article about the CPMs of influencer marketing. So
Yes, you
basically
should.
as you know, a guy who spoke at Social Media Day, Marcus Sheridan, The Art of Content Marketing, great guy. He always his whole philosophy is like, they ask, you answer. Well, we get getting so many questions from clients, all these things. And I just said, you know what we need to do? We need to start writing long form content about these questions and then throw them on Smart Hotel Marketing. And so then when our hotels or our directors of sales and marketing are asking these questions, my account teams can just reference them to that article as opposed to always having to re-answer it, retype it out. Plus, if they have that question, other marketers and other hotel marketers have that question. So, but back to the cost per thousand thing, I just did like a random thing. So a lot of the ways that we'll structure deals, we'll go ahead and definitely, I'm not saying like I'm not opposed to paying influencers. I don't want
Sure.
to set that thing, but a lot of times because the hotels are getting inundated with the requests, a lot of times they can literally do it just in exchange for a hosted stay and food and beverage credits,
Sure.
right? So the influencer can stay at a hotel or resort for 2 or 3 days, get a couple $100 to eat at some nice quality restaurants that they usually have on property, enjoy the amenities, maybe some spa treatments. So, in theory, if you look at the hard costs of like cleaning the room and maybe that F&B, a lot of times a hotel can do it for around, like $1,000 maybe is the total cost that they put into this thing. Now that's not money out of their pocket, but that's the hard cost. And then if you can find influencers who have enough engagement that they might be able, just depending on their following, that they can maybe guarantee $500,000 or 500,000 impressions, that's how you're going to get a $2 cost per thousand, which is again, way lower than what you're doing with Facebook ads or Instagram, and definitely way more affordable than what you're going to get from any outdoor campaign.
That's such a great pitch. Now I'm just imagining all these different influencers who pop up on my feed, because oftentimes you'll hear things about how nano influencers drive much more engagement than your macro influencers.
Yep.
And so for them to pitch a hotel and say, well, this is how many impressions on average I get. I might not have a big, large following, but having those rabid fans, those that actually engage, is really going to help you. Oftentimes, here's a question. When you have these influencers that the hotels are working with, do you find that your clients usually share the results with the influencers so that way they can add more value to their pitch deck, or do they keep it close to their hearts?
No, because now I'm giving the secret sauce. It's usually us, because you also don't want to give too much power to the influencer. So they want more money. They might come back like, well, I'm going to double what, I did it for free last time. Now I want $2,000. No, here's the thing. Influencers will know if it works because we'll go back to them for additional campaigns. And that's even one of the things we also do tell clients as well. I know we're kind of bouncing around here, but a lot of times we'll tell the hotels, if this works, like we should almost have them do multiple campaigns, because now it's repetitive. Now it actually looks like they're really a customer. They're not just coming for one stay. They maybe come every single year. Now their audience is starting to like, oh my God, like every year Stephanie goes and stays at XYZ in Cabo. Must be the place we need to go. Whereas I've also, talking about the pitfalls and stuff, one of the things I've seen before too is we've fallen victim to this too. We've had an influencer who comes in and we roll out the red carpet and they stay at our hotel. And now we've learned the lesson: when we do pitch something, then within a 7-day period, they can't stay at a competitor, because we've had them where they'll stay at our hotel for days 1 and 2, but then days 3 and 4, they're across the street at the other hotel, like the big competitor.
No.
Well, now think about that. What message does that send to their audience, right? And that's where I was talking about the pitfalls of influencer marketing. And that's why I was saying when we started this whole thing, a lot of these hotels have just felt they've gotten burned, right?
Yeah.
By people who are just looking for free vacations, which there are. Let's be honest. There's totally influencers out there who just want the free stays, and they're self-proclaimed and they think they're great at creating content and have influence. But
that is wild. I didn't realize people actually do
oh yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even before I worked with hotels, we used to do a lot in automotive back in the day.
Yeah.
And kind of did the same thing. I mean, I'd see people who would be, they would work brand deals and I'm not going to name names. Some of them are people you and I know. And on Monday and Tuesday, they're promoting like this awesome Mazda car that Mazda hooked them up with for a week. But then the following week, it's all about Kia or something. Like, again, to me, that's just inauthentic. So I'm all about
that's
fostering a
wild. Now,
long-term partnership.
now I want to like scroll through my feed and be like, okay, like what is their content calendar? That's wild. Okay, so when you're working with these influencers, do you state that in your contract with them?
Yeah, I mean, we have to be within reason, like, especially if it's like a hosted stay. Clearly, like, we can't be like, hey, for one full calendar year, you cannot, work with anybody else. But we will put in like non-competes within like a 7-day period, because then it does look inauthentic if they're staying with us at our hotel and staying at another hotel. Now, again, going back to the objectives, if our objective, and we've done this too, this is kind of when we were speaking about the interchangeable terms of an influencer versus a creator. So we classify them as different things. And that's actually an article we wrote on smart hotel marketing, like the difference between an influencer and a creator. When we do influencer campaigns, that's purely because the goal of the hotel is to create awareness and create reach to new audiences, right? You're using an influencer who's introducing you to new people. When we use creators, it's purely because we want content. We need video content, we need B-roll, we need photos, whatever. And so we just want to, hey, I don't really care if you post it on your feed, but we've identified that you're a really good content creator and we want you to create content for the hotel.
I love this conversation because I do kind of see like this, like a line in the sand, if you will, right, between influencers versus content creators. And I find, like, for me personally, on the agency side of things, I would love to work with a content creator because, to your point, it doesn't matter if they have a large audience or not. They're actually creating really great content. And so, in these creators that you work with, how many of them actually include themselves into the content, or they're just like UGC content creators behind the scenes, like, hey, I'm just going to do content without me in it?
Yeah. So, all right, I want to put a pin in that and I'll answer that in a second. So, all right, we're going to do that. But I also want to give you an example. I'm kind of dating ourselves a little bit, but like I remember in 2015, 16, when influencer marketing was huge, we have this huge hotel in San Francisco and we had a really prominent big influencer, said, hey, I'm going to be in town. I'd love to stay at the hotel. We convinced the hotel because, hey, this person has, an audience of X. And this is when like Meerkat was kind of going and like going
You
live was
said
a big deal.
Meerkat.
Yeah. So
Stop.
Meerkat and what was it? Oh, Periscope. It was Periscope. So it was wasn't that around that time? Maybe it was
It
2014.
was.
Yeah.
I feel embarrassed to know this, but go okay.
But this influencer, and they rolled out the red carpet. Like they hooked this person up with a suite that is, basically the presidential suite at this iconic hotel in San Francisco. They probably gave him at least like $5,000 in food and value in the room and everything, right? For a 2-night stay or 3-night stay. And all he did is he just went live on Periscope and he just kind of did like a tour of the hotel. And it was the most boring thing ever. And even though he had a huge following, maybe on Periscope, like they weren't the audience. They're not going to book a room. Like it was like, and he was making jokes and just doing a bunch of stuff and like spending time like in the gift shop, but like looking at gummy bears for 20 minutes. Like it was just like, it was just inauthentic and just not legit. Right. So that's an example of like, and I remember like the hotel marketing contacts, like, really? Like that's what they decided to show for the hotel? Like, and they were disappointed. So there's another example, being burnt, and this person had a huge following, but that's a perfect example. Like, all right, they may be influential, but they're not a good creator for the type of content the hotels want to see. Right. Now, not saying that it needs to be overly branded, but now to your question of like, what kind of content is it? Obviously, yeah, they want content that's going to show the experience at a property. They want content that's going to, they understand doesn't necessarily have to be like 100% branded like photo shoot, but they still want to showcase the product, showcase the destination, talk about the features or the benefits. We have encouraged them to like let loose a little and let the creator do it in their style. That's why we've selected them as a creator. If so, to your point, if someone shoots a lot of POV stuff, like from their point of view, including them, but then you go ask them to shoot stuff without featuring them, well, they're going to be like weirded out. They're not going to know how to do it, and it may not be as good. So you might be disappointed. Or conversely, if you're asking someone who is great at kind of doing the behind the scenes and doing just like the camera angle, like the UGC style. Maybe their hands are in there, but then all of a sudden you're asking them to like be featured in the shots. That could make them uncomfortable. So it kind of again goes back to the goals, and we've done both. So that's now going to your question. We have some hotels who do want to feature people because they want to look like that, style, like somebody who's enjoying the product, enjoying the hotel. But then we've had others who don't want to feature faces just because that's maybe how their brands are. So It gets tricky. It gets dicey. Just kind of depends on, it's a case by case scenario.
Do you have that in your Smart Marketing Hotel where you talk about the differences between content creators and influencers?
Yeah, well, we have that article. That's why I was saying we have an article like the difference between a creator and an influencer. Yes.
Okay, I love that. Because talk to me about usage rights. Because in the influencer community, I hear a lot about like, well, if they want to use an ad, then you have to pay on top of that. With content creators, especially from a POV lifestyle content, I would imagine you don't have to worry about that.
Well, so kind of going down to expectations. So everything, whether it's a creator or even an influencer campaign, we have everything in an agreement. So we have our own contractual agreements. Sometimes the individual brands will have theirs on top of it. And so, we do ask for full rights, right? Like we own it. If you take it while you're at the property, we own it in perpetuity, or we have a license to it in perpetuity. So we can use it for ads. We can use it for organic social. Sometimes we've had an influencer who also will shoot with like a high-end DSLR. So we get the raw footage, for example. And then if the hotel wanted to use it, for example, in website print collateral, they can. That doesn't happen a ton, but we do put that in there. But also in full transparency, I'd say about 20% of the time, it's a negotiation. The creator may give us pushback, and no, I do not.
I cannot imagine trying to negotiate with you, Tyler. You being
it's not me. I don't do it. My team does it. But I mean, we put together the agreement. But I'll get the emails. Hey, this creator, is giving us pushback here, and I just say, yeah, that's fine. It's okay. So, but we always ask for it. Our first goal is, of course, to get full rights.
Sure. So here's a question, because I feel like naturally you and I always lean towards photography, video, live streaming. What about travel bloggers? Is that still a thing? Are hotels still interested in that? How much budget is dedicated?
I'm sorry. When you say travel bloggers, are hotels still interested in travel bloggers?
Yeah. Do they still host them?
Yeah, no, they will, and it's become a big thing again. Like it's kind of weird. It's like a stock market. There's up weeks and down weeks, right? And so that's what I was kind of getting at earlier. Like definitely there was a period where they were being burned by it a lot. But in the last year and a half, 2 years, probably since COVID, with like the emergence of short form video with TikTok and stuff, the creators become like a thing again. It's like I know it's always maybe been a thing, but it's like now it's really a thing. Like there's literally kids who graduate college, Stephanie, and they want to be a full-time creator. Like that was not a career option for you or I,
I want that to be my career. So here's the thing. When I think about all the different content that's being created, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, Facebook Reels. Is that a thing for clients too? Or you just say short form video, lump it together?
We lump it together. We will share it on both. We encourage it on both. I mean, as you probably see, like when Instagram reports on your Reels, if you share it to Facebook too, they'll report on both, So if you're already doing it, might as well. Like the whole thing with all the algorithms, I always crack up when people talk about all the algorithm secrets, because like it's always changing. We all know that. We can all follow Adam Mosseri and he'll tell us the latest update. And when people try to tell you exactly how algorithms are working, Facebook has never put out an article. Here's exactly how it works, So we all have to follow the indicators that they give us, right? So when you see them saying like, "Do you want to share this to Facebook?" Well, probably means they want you to share it to Facebook, So we've shifted our focus on that. So absolutely. I know Agorapulse is a tool that we use. I know you're familiar with it and all that. And, obviously like publishing in a tool like Agorapulse, sometimes, it's not as intuitive or as easy as if you were a sole creator and you're just doing it on your phone. So there are those limitations, but in a perfect world, we'd be publishing it to all. But kind of going back to your earlier question, like with TikTok, I think some of the content we have for Instagram Reels would work on TikTok for hotels, but we the hotels don't have a TikTok account, so we can't use it there. I think some of it will work great for YouTube Shorts, but they don't have the YouTube account. Not saying we wouldn't recommend that, but a lot of the hotels just don't have the budget.
Oh, interesting. I'm so fascinated by all this. And so what about ads? When you do the short form video content working with influencers, do you manage the paid media for your clients as well, or is it mostly organic?
No, we do both. We do paid media as well, and a lot of that is content that we would amplify or use as ads. I mean, that's why we ask for full rights in case we want to turn it into an ad or use the asset as an ad. One of the things that we've also been doing more recently with our creator stays, so not necessarily influencer stay. So talking about if we're commissioning a deal with a hotel and we want them, or I'm sorry, with a creator or an influencer, but want them to really only create content. We don't care about them posting on their own channels. We'll put in the contract like no requirement to post this. So let's actually dissect that for a second.
Yeah.
Traditionally, if you were to do like a traditional influencer campaign, you would say, hey, Stephanie, we want to have you come stay at the hotel. And in exchange, we want you to do like one newsfeed post, maybe 2 or 3 stories and a reel or something like that. And you would do all that and you would post it on your feed, maybe within a week of the stay, right? When we do a creator stay, if you want to post that, great. But we're not requiring that. But what we are requiring is that you provide us with maybe 20 stills, again, and these are with your smartphone, but you're there for 2 days. And we might want 20 20 B-roll clips. And a B-roll clip is defined as anything between 1 and 3 seconds. So again, say you're taking a photo, while you're also taking that photo, just grab 3 seconds of video of it, right? Because then our team can edit that footage, create reels out of it later. We're just looking for content, right? And then we also might ask for 1 or 2 fully produced reels. But in full transparency, sometimes because it's a creator, we're not treating this like a full-blown production. I'd say the usability of that end reel is like 30%. Sometimes when we get it from a creator, the hotels just don't like it because it's just maybe not on brand. It's hit or miss, to be honest. So that's why we ask for the B-roll clips, because then our team can go edit it the way we want it to look.
Smart. Yeah, I feel like that's the best thing that you could do is start building up your content library of all your different B-rolls. So then, having said that, how do you organize all of that? I mean, obviously you've had clients for over a decade. You've built a huge librry. How do you organize that?
It's always changing. Okay. Asset management is a big thing, right? So, we've used everything back in the day from Dropbox to Google Drive. A tool that we've gotten into the last 2 years has been Air. I think it's Air dot. What is it? Air dot. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard of it. I see the logo. It's like white, and then the air is like blue.
It's air.inc. So AIR.inc. That's a really good visual tool for that. Because when we would, like, if you upload a bunch of video B-roll clips to like Google Drive, it's like pixelated when you view it. It's a pain in the butt to preview clips. It's terrible. Air has been pretty good because it's really cool to quick view things, and you can easily pan the video footage and see the little clips. And it also holds not only photos, but video. So that's cool. So we really like Air. There are some other cool tools out there. Truthfully, right now we're actually experiencing with this other video one. This would be more for like your final end product. Let me look it up. My videographer just sent this to me the other day.
No, I love how we're geeking out because I'm like, that's cool.
Vidflow, VIDFLOW.co. And again, full transparency, we're just testing this out, but it looks cool so far. So that one's kind of cool.
Oh, it's Air Inc. Like INC? Is that what it is?
Oh, Air, yeah. No, AIR.inc. Yep. That's for hosting your files internally. So we'll use that's where our team will store all of our video assets and photography assets for our hotel clients. And what I like about Air is you can create a little folder and you can email that link to a client or to a creator, for example, and they can just drop their files in there and it goes right to that same folder that your whole team has access to. So that's pretty cool. And then what we've even done sometimes too, like we're not talking about influencer marketing, but we encourage the hotels to share content to us as well, right? Like if they have somebody on content. So with Air.inc, we can create a client submission folder and we send it to the client. And then what I have them do is I have them create a shortcut on their smartphone, because the problem is like when you have content, you tell people to send it to you, it's a pain in the butt to go find the link, right?
Yeah,
Or
I
they're
was
like,
gonna say, is there a mobile app so you just have them save as a bookmark?
well, there's not a mobile app, so you have them save it as a bookmark on your phone, as a little home on your home screen, and then we have literally have them call it Casual Fridays. And when you click it, it's like upload photos, and then they can just go upload the photos right from their camera or videos, and it goes right to our account team. So it's pretty slick.
Oh, brilliant. That's VidFlow or that's Air?
That's Air. That's Air.
And
Sorry,
is,
we're
is
talking about a
Air,
lot.
is it white labeled?
No, clients will see it's from Air.
Oh, because I was gonna say that's cool to be like, here's my Casual Fridays, and then you have
Yeah,
like the back end of it.
I know. Yep. No, I wish, but
I see some SaaS in the future for you.
we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's when you say assets management, I guess a lot of people don't take that into consideration. If you're talking about 20 B rolls, this 20 stills, and all the different
Yep.
things, and how often are they working with creators? Is it like one creator a month, multiple creators a month?
Depends on the hotel, and like that's something we've been diligent. So like to kind of give a little behind the scenes right now. So this past year and a half, we've been incorporating creator stays into our programs. Where before it was like an add-on, like if they wanted to have it, but we saw we were ahead of the curve of like we need video content. You need video content. We know you will never send us video content, so we're just going to go ahead and include some creator stays with our packages, and we adjusted the prices to reflect it. And then we actually have somebody on our team whose sole job is to manage creators and influencers. That's it. And they form the partnerships, and we work deals with them. And I mean, and they'll come in, they'll go shoot a hotel. They negotiate with them. Some are paid, some are non-paid, some are just for hosted stays, and then they provide that. But then back to the asset management side, you're right. That's a complicated thing. And so then, it comes down to just basic, operational stuff, like making sure you have SOPs, standard operating procedures, have your processes documented. How are you going to organize? If they use an asset, they have to literally like go relabel it used. So somebody doesn't go use it again, or archive it, and we have different ways we handle that. But that's the asset management. I'm not going to lie. I'd like to say it's good, but it's not going to ever be perfect. It's always, it's a continuous evolution.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, when you said like once you use an asset, you might have to archive it because you may no longer have the usage rights for it. But you never
Not even that you
know.
don't have the usage rights, but you just don't want to, because we're doing both organic social and paid. Like you don't want to say you had a creator who did an amazing job, but you don't want to go keep using that same clip in like every reel.
Sure.
And when you're creating volume content, aren't you missing the agency days now, Stephanie?
You
Like
know,
you're
like honestly, I was kind of like, it sounds so fascinating, interesting. Like I love the fact that you have a dedicated person that manages and negotiates these contracts with influencers. And then I giggled when you said, because we know you're not going to create content. We know you're not going to send it to us. So you just build it
Yeah.
into the package. I
Build it
thought
in.
that was brilliant. I was like, way to cover, CYA.
Well, and to go even one deeper, what we're doing now for next year, because the creators, kind of the point what I mentioned earlier, how about 30% of the reels that they provide us are actually usable. So we still have to edit it anyway.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're working for 2024, we're trying to actually build up a team of in-house creators. So having people literally on the payroll who travel to the hotels and they know how to do it our way, our style. And so,
can
yeah.
applications open?
Oh yeah, no. So it's weird because like, I've been doing this a long time, and so that means I've been employing account managers for a long time. And if you would have asked me the number one skill that an account manager needed in 2011 versus 2000, maybe 14 versus 2018 versus now, or even 2020 versus today, it's changed a lot. And the one I'm going to say right now is they need to be a great content creator to be an account manager with our agency. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be visiting your clients. You should be able to create some great content. 10 years ago, I would have said copywriting. Even 5 years ago, it would have been copywriting is really important. Well, with like tools like Grammarly and AI, you could have had a C- copywriter right now who could be an A- copywriter.
Oh my God. That is true. I feel like this is a LinkedIn poll that I have to put out there. Like in 2024, what would be the most in-demand skill right now for an account manager that works at an agency? Okay.
You still, I do have to say though, because I don't want people to like hate on me. I'm not saying you have to be only because my forte was, of course, you have to have communication skills. Like you still need to be able to communicate with the client, articulate, thoughts, put them into words, and read people. Like, that's really important. But, my point is, what I was trying to illustrate back in the day, like when we started on social, like think about Twitter. It was really just, can you write catchy copy in tweets? It was only text-based content. Like when I first started working with hotels and we were managing Twitter, we were only putting out tweets that were purely words. Fast forward now today, we're putting out like short form videos that need to get the attention span of an audience within like a fraction of a second. So
It's wild. It's wild.
yeah.
Okay, this is going to be my last question, and I'm so curious to see how you're going to approach it. What are your thoughts on deep fake videos or AI influencers? Have you considered this?
Yeah. So, all right. I have not totally dived into like the DI fake influencers, no, but I've seen the deep fake video content. I mean, it's wild. I do embrace AI. I mean, AI is a whole nother conversation. I do embrace AI. I'm all for it. I love it. I see the benefits in it. We do incorporate it at our agency. We use Magi. We use ChatGPT. We use it where it can help us. And like, just to get the elephant out of the room, like I'm on the side of, I don't think ChatGPT is going to replace people, but I think people who know how to use like AI will replace those who don't. Right. It's going to be part of what we do. But the deep fake AI videos, the ones that I've seen, I don't like as much. To me, they don't seem as authentic, for example. It's one thing when it's a written word, and even like with like the written word on AI, like our team does never take it exactly word for word, but I think it's great for inspiration, ideas. To give you an example where we do use AI for video creation, like I was talking about this the other day with the account team. Say we're going to go do a creator stay, an in-house one with our in-house creators.
Yeah.
And where before, and this is why I think sometimes the content would fail. The content would fail because you'd show up and you just stay, and then you kind of, it's more of a reactionary shoot. Like, let me that's a cool entree. I'll take some pictures. Oh, that's a beautiful view. I'll take some photos or whatever. And it works. But I think if you treat it almost like a professional shoot, not that you need to like totally treat it that way, but like kind of go in with a wish list. Try to think ahead of time of hey, if I want to go and I'm going to stay at this hotel, what are like 5 reels I want to get out of it? Okay. Well, then go to ChatGPT and literally say like, please, hey, I'm going to go to stay at XYZ hotel. Here's where it's located. Please give me 5 potential reel ideas or short form video ideas that are going to be between 8 and 15 seconds, where each clip is 2 to 3 seconds. And give me some ideas. And now at least it's better to have that and then edit and tweak it than to try to sit there and think from scratch what you're going to do. And so you can literally use ChatGPT to come up with a storyboard of some of these ideas. So when you go to a hotel, you know exactly what you're trying to shoot now. And then of course, you still have to have some editing capabilities and all that and make it look good. But it's at least now you're going with an intent and with a purpose, as opposed to showing up and like, oh, I guess I'll take a picture of this or a video of that and see what I can turn this into,
That's wild. Is this all like in your program?
Yeah, that's how we're treating it. That's what literally I was going over this the other day with because do you use Magi, Dustin?
I do. Yeah, no, Dustin's amazing.
So this is actually one that I was going through, like at the end of the day, I don't do the dirty work, but I oversee the high level stuff. And so that's how I'm encouraging the team to do this. Like, that's how we're going to do it. And so I was showing one of our coordinators actually how to add a bunch of these prompts into Magi so they can do these prompts to get the video scripts for short form video content.
That's brilliant. And so Smart Hotel Marketing, that's where everyone could get the marketing, the strategies, the tactics. Do they have access to you? Is it account managers? Do you pop up? Do you do a live stream?
No, but here's the thing. So because we did hire, we eventually are going to be launching a YouTube channel.
Stop. Are you going to go to Bid Summit?
When is that? That's like, is that in Dallas? Isn't it in Dallas?
Yeah, it's in Dallas. If you want a ticket, I'll give you one.
Look at the date. If I can, I will. I'm trying to think. Is that I might be in Austin that week?
Yeah.
No, I'd actually. You know what? I'll totally take you up on that.
Okay.
I'll send someone for sure.
Yeah, whether it's you and another team, I'm willing to give 2 for you guys to come through, because I think you'll.
That's right. You're emceeing it, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. So I'll be there with Owen again. It'll be fun. It'll be cool to see you. We'll have like a nice reunion and catch up. So as far as everything else, what else should we tell the folks? Because you're doing amazing things. I love how you organized everything. You're just like, I've been doing this forever. Like,
I wrote down some notes because I didn't want to forget anything. So I just want to make sure I'm giving all the good news here. Okay. So you talked to me about like what are the biggest pitfalls. So one is just I think we maybe kind of address this, but like just having like a like the proper selection. So I'd say the pitfall is like selecting poor influencers, right? So that means is properly vetting them. Like don't just go off the follower count. Look at their content. Look at the engagement. If that's your goal, like because if you just go off the number of how big of an audience they have and you've not looked at their content, you might be very disappointed when you get their content or when you see the content they're sharing. The other one is like making sure you have clear objectives. Just because you bring someone on, they're not mind readers. You got to tell them like, hey, we want you to stay at the hotel and here's our objectives, but we'd really love it if you could try to showcase these particular areas. Because we've also had that happen before where a hotel's like, well, we're really bummed they never showed the fitness center. Well, you never told us that you really wanted them to see the fitness center, so, or we got an influencer who doesn't work out, like, so you got to make sure, again, proper influencer selection, being clear with the objectives. You and I talked about this a little bit, but get it in a contract, get the terms, make sure you're both aligned with it, with whether the compensation is going to be, with the deliverables that they're going to provide, whether it's stuff that they're posting on their feed or whether it's assets that they're going to provide to you, and the delivery of that. Because we've also seen situations where hotels will do something, but then they didn't have any contractual terms of when the influencer, the creator, was going to provide the assets or post it. Next thing, like a month goes by and nothing's gone out yet. So you got to make sure you have your terms buttoned up in a contract. The other thing too is like trying to overscript things. Like don't do that. Let the influencer, the creator, be who they are. You selected them for a reason. If let's say this is something that a campaign you wanted them to post on their channels, and all of a sudden you're giving them like a script of things that they got to say because it's like on your brand, their audience is going to know that that's not authentic because that person would maybe never say something like that. So let them be them is really a better way of what I'm trying to say with that. And then, obviously, just understand how you're trying to quantify that ROI, be it if it is, growth on your channels, reach awareness, if it is heads and beds, but then have a way to measure it, and at a bare minimum, you can track the cost per thousand, like I was telling you earlier. That being said, if the goal is content, creation, like getting content, do the math too. Like what would it cost if you were to go hire a professional video crew to bring them on in there, but then your time to oversee them or get a director or whatever that may be, because there might be a huge cost savings that way as well. So those are just some of my things to avoid. And then the last thing, as far as just tips in developing, the partnerships, this kind of ties into the things to avoid, but just make sure you do your research. Again, look at the influencer, look at their metrics, all that stuff. If you do engage and start a conversation, ask for a screenshot of their analytics too, just so you can see like some behind the scenes, like how their posts really perform. A good creator or a good influencer should not scoff at providing you that. And if they are, that's a red flag. Don't work with them. And then, just kind of like, again, plan, don't go into this and just wing it. Like have a plan. Like if the influencer is down to get on a call with you or the hotel directly, do that. Don't try to make it an hour-long Zoom, but even if it's just 15 minutes to talk about what your wish list would be, the goals and objectives, be reasonable. The more that you can communicate with them, the better that they're going to provide for you. So those are just some other tips.
that is wild. I'm like, there's a whole book, a signature talk in this, all the different things. That was so much gold. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate that. So what's next for you? Is it still growing the agency or is it focusing more on smart hotel marketing?
Well, it's kind of a hybrid of both. I mean, smart hotel marketing is related to the agency. Definitely we want to continue to grow the agency. What's crazy, Stephanie, is like the agency is kind of pivoting though. And there's that word again. And what I mean by that is like, we look at how we're building in-house creators, or we're even like focusing on content creation, which a decade ago was not really the big part of what the agency was. It was mostly just, organic posting and, dealing with like image posts and scheduling UGC and curating UGC. And that's still important. We're still a part of that, but I can already tell like the team, like my employees, what they get most excited about is creating content, like going on a property with their smartphone and working with their clients, coming up with cool, engaging, concepts and reels. And I'm not going to lie. I think that's more fun too.
Oh, I
So
agree. Like, I feel like I've been smiling this whole entire episode. I mean, is there a partnership with Smart Hotel Marketing and, let's say, iPhone photography school, like courses for them to
I
train
could,
themselves?
I don't know. Like we'll see. It's a blink. Like literally, smart hotel marketing was just my little way to like. We need to document all these common questions, and I want to at least put it somewhere that is still kind of separate from the agency in case. Because like, if I wake up one day and all of a sudden that thing has like 100,000 subscribers, okay, well now there is a business model there, and maybe I do create a course, or maybe I do a conference. Again, just for hotels, and
Yeah.
have something where we do. I could totally see a workshop on creating content. Like I really think there's for travel. I literally think that there's something there where here's how you shoot travel content with your iPhone, and I think people would love it.
I would sign up for that. Just the way that you even broke down the deliverables. I have never heard anyone else say that. And
Oh,
so
cool.
to me, I'm like, Tyler, there's something
Yep.
there. All right, Tyler. Well, thank you so much. This was absolutely amazing. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but this has been brilliant. I cannot wait to share this with everyone and turn it into digital confetti. And as you know, sprinkle it all across the internet. So that way everyone can find out about you, Smart Hotel Marketing, as well as Casual Fridays. So with that
Cool.
said, anything else?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you for letting me speak to your audience, and it's been awesome catching up.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.